Hi, my name is Onno Husing, and I have been asked today to talk about a documentary that I produced almost 10 years ago, and it's called Oregon's Ocean Fisheries, A Conservation Story. I'm pleased to do that. The purpose of the film was to, at last, tell the wonderful story about how Oregon's ocean fisheries made a transition from not being very sustainable to being one of the most sustainable fisheries in the world.
Onno's goal was a good goal, to produce a film to tell the story of what was really going on in commercial fisheries here in Oregon, one of the most sensitive fisheries in the world toward protecting the environment. And today, most of our fisheries are considered to be environmentally correct by most environmental organizations.
I think the reason I ended up becoming the producer of the documentary was an artist friend of mine, Diane O'Leary, or she had been concerned, I should say, about the fishing industry and protecting the environment. The fisheries were far more sustainable than she thought. One day she called me up and said that she owed me an apology and that she was now persuaded that the fisheries indeed were so much more sustainable than she ever thought. And she said to me, "Why isn't this story being told?" And so in a weak moment, I guess, trying to help, I had said to Diane, well, we really need to do a documentary to tell this story, and we can't wait for somebody else to do this documentary.
The thing that I think Onno did, his goals were absolutely right. He raised the money, but in a good film, you first have to look at your distribution. You can make a film. It can be Gone with the Wind. But if you don't have the theaters that are going to play the film, you're only half there.
It took too long. The project and the film ended up taking several years to produce. There was a sense of urgency when we decided to do the film that several years later, by the time the film came out, that sense of urgency wasn't really there.
In this case, there was quite a conflict between your father and I. He had good ways to raise money. He had the right idea. And he also got good actors into the film, natural people. But he had to get the timing down.
The problem with the film was that it had me, someone who had never done a documentary before, who also had a full-time job. I don't recommend trying to become a documentary maker, filmmaker, if you had not been involved with documentaries before. That's the cautionary tale, is I learned how hard it is to do a documentary and how much attention to detail it takes to do a documentary well. Certainly in retrospect, I should have had someone working with me that really could have been the producer of the documentary. The other immediate challenges that I faced is that the fishing industry is a complicated group of different industries within one industry. And they have some jealousies and they have some times when they're actually competitors with each other.
If you're trying to cover everything, it's too momentous, and it's too momentous to the listener. You've got to be able to break it down either into sections or into separate films.
The documentary featured some key leaders in the fishing industry talking about their fisheries, and some key people, some key scientists to talk about how the changes in fisheries management were working. People afterwards, when they saw the documentary, they said to me they learned so much and they were so impressed by what they saw. So I think that was the best. The end product really is what went well, and that the film was very encouraging. They were delighted to hear that the ocean off of Oregon is well managed and that the fish stocks were rebounding and that the management efforts were working.
Part of what his film that he originally did was to capture a bunch of fishermen that were old people that had been there, spent their lives at sea, and these people that had been in it their whole life. And that's probably the only film that had most of these people that fished out here on any kind of a long-term format. Your dad did a great job at that, of capturing the truth about those people.